Hi, I'm Allison Ban, and I'm the Executive Director at Spark, a Center for Social Research Innovation. This is the video accompanying this week's Polish Your Graph Challenge. And we're going to be taking a look at one of the least favorite graph types for those of us who do a fair bit of data visualization, and that is the pie chart. So we'll talk about why a pie chart is not very popular and some alternatives. And then I will show what I end up building. All right, so we're working with a pretty straightforward data set, just that includes information about race. The race is reflected in column F here, and you'll note that there are a bunch of unknowns. For the purpose of this graph, I have left off the unknowns. Those have to be counted, a percentage determined, and noted within the text because it affects the credibility of the numbers overall when you don't talk about missing values, but it does not have to be reflected in the graph itself. So that's a choice that each researcher makes. This is the choice I'm making. Okay, so this is the Excel standard version of, in this case, a donut chart, which is just a pie chart that has a hole cut out of it. And you might start by saying, okay, well, this looks pretty good. It certainly looks standard. It's something we've all seen plenty of times. So why do people who do a lot of data visualization hate these? Well, a couple of reasons. One is that it turns out it's actually very hard for people at a glance to estimate what percentage of a whole this is. We don't do that well with areas as people. And so it becomes really hard for people to actually be able to grasp both individual segments, but then also when you have a whole bunch of different segments, how each of them fit together and make up that whole. Being able to actually remember that and do anything with it is actually really limited when people look at pie charts. That's why, for the most part, people who do a lot of data visualization are not big fans of pie charts. However, there is an exception. When you are doing something where what you want to call out is, say, this piece. So these are individuals who are white, and it's 57% of the population. So let's say what you care about and really want to emphasize is that this is 57% of the population. So if you just want people to pay attention to one number, then it's actually much, much easier for people to be able to work with that. I'll show you what I mean. The pie chart itself, or the donut, actually becomes pretty irrelevant. It's just a sort of colorful visual for being able to put a number in people's heads. In this case, a percentage, 57% of the population. So the easy way to do this, and it's sort of a general rule, if you want to emphasize something, what you need to do is make that the focus. So in this case, I'm going to do it in yellow, and then everything else you de-emphasize. So there are distinctions here, and we don't want to ignore them. So usually the easiest way to do that is to do it in shades of the same color. A gray or a gray or a brown is often the best for doing something like this. Okay, there. 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 And I might have run out. Yeah, that needs to be more fall colors, a little bit darker. Yeah, there. All right. Yeah. So now Instead of calling this racial makeup of program participants, let's give it a name that says this is the thing that we want you to pay attention to. So we're going to say 57% of program participants are white. Now, if you want to make things even easier for people, it's a lovely thing to color code. So we can bold. I'm going to make this just a little bit darker so that it's a little more readable. People will still be able to tell that it's the yellow. Okay. Okay. Now, to make it even more obvious, we can add data labels. So now I have to choose what is going to be in my data label. I'm going to do format. And instead of a value, I want oh, I see. Format data label. I want the percentage. And I want the series name. No. I want the category name. Yes. Okay. And I don't want leader lines. I'm going to remove these ones. Okay. Oh, I did not mean to have. Huh. You know why that is there. I'm going to do this as a new line. Text. Okay. Sometimes Excel just does its things. There we go. Okay, so now it's extremely obvious what it is you want people to actually pay attention to. You no longer need a legend. So we'll just remove that. And this becomes really just a re-emphasis of what is in the title. So now let's just make this a little bit more lively. This isn't actually how I want to do this as the end product, but I think it's good for talking about when pies and donuts actually work and why they work. I should say too, the pie, the donut is one graph type within a type that would be called parts of a whole, where what you want to do is reflect 100% and then the different allocations of groups within that. So we're going to, when we get to sort of the final graph type that I want to do, it's another option for reflecting parts of a whole. But first, I'm just going to polish this one up. You want to change the font, both because the Excel standard font automatically makes it feel like, okay, this is an Excel standard graph, and because a condensed font makes quite a difference when you're fitting, for instance, something like in here, for being able to fit data in. I use Franklin Gothic Medium Condensed for some things. I have a couple other condensed fonts that I really like. Okay. There we go. Another thing I'm going to do is just format chart area, border, no line. Okay. So now when I want to move this into any other program, I don't have to worry about a line being around the chart. I can always add one back in my Word program if I want to. But now I can just do this. I can also adjust the chart area. So I might want to, yeah, actually that looks about right. All right, I'm going to center that a bit more. Yeah, I'm happy with that. So if I want just a sort of very standard visualization, it doesn't say anything particularly exciting, but it looks clean, it looks professional. The other thing that I would do just to finish this one up in order to have it look more polished, more professional, would actually be to order these by size. So you can see that they're of all different sizes. The only way to do this, and it's a little annoying, is actually to move your data around. So and then I would recolor these so that they color order, but you get the idea. So that is what the vast majority of data visualizers would say, okay, this is a totally fine use for a pie or a bar chart. You are not relying on the pie or the bar to be able to have people understand how all of the parts of the whole come together. You are only having them really take a look at one part of it. And you're emphasizing that within the title so that, again, in many ways, the chart is just a accoutrement. It's not this, it's not what you are relying on to be able to convey the message to the population that you're trying to share your visualization with. Okay, so as I said, this isn't actually how I want to do it because I think it's as important the makeup of the 43% of people within the program that are racialized. I don't want to de-emphasize that just because it sort of made sense in showing this to only focus on one population. I want to actually be able to break that down. But then how to do that in a way where you're not kind of forcing data in, you're not having people have to sort of take in too much information at once. Usually when I have those kinds of problems, the way that I think about it is, can I break this down? And sometimes two graphs serves better than one. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to start with creating a whole new graph type for this. Okay. Search chart. I'm going to go up here to bar charts. And I'm going to do what's called a 100% stacked bar. Okay. Now you look at this and you go, well, that doesn't look right. It's not. I want to select the data and I need to switch it. And now suddenly I've got my 100% stacked bar. So this is easier for people to be able to interpret percentages. It does not, particularly for some of the ones that are in the middle or smaller sections, it doesn't resolve the issues of being able to figure out exactly what the percentages are for each. So two things. One is I want to start by breaking this into two graphs. So the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to start by taking my largest group and then combining all of these into one category called racialized. That's going to be my first graph. So I'm going to do a sum. Helps if I have an equals sum. Okay, so 175, and we're going to call that racialized. All right, so now I'll just move this down here for ease. Right, racialized. Okay, so now, actually, I'm going to save myself some effort. I'm going to make this my second chart. You can probably already see exactly what I'm doing with that. So I will just build a new first chart, insert. And select data, switch. All right, so now we have the two charts. So first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to add data labels. Okay, chart elements, labels, and I always center them. And then I want it for all of these. Add chart element, data label, center. Okay, now I need to select what's in my data labels. Shift. Okay, so I don't want values. And again, I keep forgetting that if you take the value out, format data labels. Okay. This might just be one of those days. There we go. Okay. So now, okay, it's just forcing me to do it on time. Fine. I want my category name. No, I want my series name. Yep. I want my series name and I want, it doesn't give me an option for percentage. Okay, so I'm going to have to generate a percentage. And then I want them on the new line. And ditto here. I want, is it series name? Yeah, series name, value, separate line. Okay, so now it's interesting that these ones don't have a percentage. I'm just going to calculate a percentage equals divided by sum. Okay, that is, yep, good. And equals sum. Good. They should equal 100. And I'm going to format these. Yeah, number. There we go. Percentage. Okay. So now I'm going to select the data. And let's see if that works. Yep, that did not work. Okay. And I'm going to do this instead. Okay. Oh, copy. You can paste things as values rather than formulas so that you don't get those reference errors. Now I'm going to again adjust those numbers. Okay. All right. Finally, this is what I wanted it to look like. Except let's remove the number 2. There we go. Okay. So we have our first chart, which is just white versus racialized. And then I'm going to set the second chart down below it, which is the breakdown of racialized. So let's do the same thing in terms of data labels. Never get how to just get data labels for all of them. Yeah. Let me try control. I keep meaning to like learn a lot of Excel hacks and I have never gotten around to it. Okay. Format plot area. Let me see if I can select data labels. Yeah. Okay. I will just do it this way. I'm gonna do one and then put it on pause so that you don't have to watch me do all this. Okay. Move. Oh, and I'm gonna have to go back and do those as percentages. All right, I'm gonna pause it, go and do that, and I will be back in a moment. Okay, I'm back and I have added in all of the data labels. Now, what I want to do is one, these are not very readable. So I want to fix that. Yeah, that'll be my first fix. Okay, so for a start, no, I still am. Okay, I will do them all one at a time. I'm going to, again, choose my condensed font. You can begin to understand. We'll take a look at Middle Eastern. This will be a good example of why a condensed font is so useful. You can see it shrunk it down. It's still not as small as I want, but the nice thing about this condensed font is that it's actually pretty readable at really small sizes. However, when I look at something like Southeast Asian, I'm still not going to have enough room. I'm going to put it above or below, but it's still not going to be enough. So then I can say, well, there's nothing magical about the size of these graphs. So if I want to be able to reflect things better in my 100% bar, I can just make my 100% bar longer. That's going to give me a lot more real estate to be able to work with. These axes while I'm at it because that's going to change. You see, every time you remove something, it adjusts how it looks. And so if you're not doing those things early on, you can end up getting kind of frustrated because you put in all this work and then it moves. All right, so that one's changed. That one's changed. This one is 7. I think that's too small. Let's do 8. This one 8. No, that's 9. Let's change that back to 8. They all should be consistent sizes. 8. If this all feels a little tedious, that's because it is a little tedious. But it's the trade-off when you're trying to customize something and when you're using a program like Excel. If you're using a program that's sort of specific to data visualization or a software package where people have sort of put a lot of effort into data visualization, like R, then you have a lot more that's just sort of ready-made and you can just choose it and be done. But with Excel, if you want things to look really good and not to look Excel standard, there's nothing to do but fiddle. Okay, 8. All right, so hooray, there's actually only 2 of these that have to be moved out of the center to be obvious what they are. Okay. So that looks good. I'm going to move this down just a little and get it over just a little. Yeah, there we go. That's how I want it. Okay, so what do I want to do now? Well, the first thing is that I actually want these two to be one chart. How am I going to do that? Well, it's a little piece of trickery. I'm going to start with the borders. So we're going to remove the borders from both of them. There and here. And remove the chart title from here. See, it moved. That's what I mean. I'm going to have to move these again. Oh, every time. And I'm going to remove the axis from here. Now, I also, again, in the name of customization, I don't love the size of these. And so the cool thing is that you can easily adjust that. These functions, series overlap and gap width, allow you to adjust how things look. So in this case, I actually want both of these to be pretty narrow. But okay, both of them, there we go. Now, why is it not letting me select both? That's really annoying. Okay. What about data series? Month. Okay. Well, this may not work the way I was hoping. I may have to do it this way. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna have to do it this way. So now I'm gonna go back to this and make these thicker. Okay. And then just shrink. There we go. This is what I want it to look like. Okay. Yes, I am happy with that as the basic. Now, importantly, because this axis is now going to be the axis for all of it, I have to line up my axes. Okay, they're not fully lined up. Okay, there we go. Yeah, those look well lined up. And let's start shifting this one. Okay, so gap width. That looks good. I'm gonna have to adjust it because I'm adjusting this. Okay, and back to gap width. One of these days, I'll sort of fully figure out the sequence. Okay, let's try that. No, more. A little more. Yeah, that looks about right. Okay. So now I'm going to get rid of these leader lines and move this right there and this. I see. Okay. I might have to move this down just a little. No, you know what I'm going to do? Actually, I'm going to remove this one and I will put in oh dear, what are they called? A text box to label that one so that I can use it to bridge these two pieces. Okay, so move this down. I need to change the fonts on these ones. Gothic. I'm actually going to do these ones bigger. It's going to be a subtle cue that we're going to get less subtle in a moment. This this graph is a subset of this graph. Okay, so now I want to work with the colors. And there's no right or wrong answer in terms of colors. But the major thing that you really want to focus on is making sure that the colors that you're using are not distracting and fit with what it is you're doing. So if I'm doing something for a journal article, then there's no right or wrong color scheme for that. But the most important thing is that you have a consistent, there we go. I want this to line up. But the most important thing is that you have a consistent color scheme through all of your graphs. That's easy enough. The best trick that I know is actually to go into a website that specializes in color schemes and choose one that you like and that's very readable and not distracting. The Microsoft default color schemes are definitionally deeply distracting. You have sort of other ones that if you wanted to just sort of choose one, you can, but I like to choose colors individually. Okay, so I'm going to, what do I want? Yeah, I'm going to do that as just kind of a very neutral color because I want to emphasize this one. I'll leave it in orange. Yeah, I'll leave it in orange. And then to make it clear that these are subsets of this, I'm going to do a big arrow that should make it fairly obvious. But the other way is to then do this in shades of the same color. And this is where you can take advantage of Microsoft defaults and it won't be too obvious. Okay, when both the color and the font are dark, you want to switch the font. This one's, I'm not sure which would be better here. Let's just try the white and see. I'm gonna do it on this one too. And here. Okay. All right, so I'm still gonna have to put my data label here. I can't forget about that. Oh, I also want to change the font on the axis. And I'm gonna bold that. Yeah. Okay. So now I have my two graphs pulled together. I'm going to choose a illustration shape. And I just want, let's do a big fat arrow. And we're going to do this in, I think, a dark gray. And all right. Now let me add my data label for Southeast Asian, East Southeast Asian. Okay. Search. At home, where's the text box? Text box. There we go. Stay right here. Change the font. 8 East space so that I can break lines of East Asian. And that is percent, 3%. 3%. Okay. Right. I'm going to do that down at the bottom, and I'm going to do it to the side. There we go. And need 3%. 3%. Put it on the same line. And now I'm going to shape format, shape fill, no fill, shape outline, no outline, and there, the box disappears. Move that over just a little bit so that it's very obvious which one it refers to. Yeah, all right, that works. So all I need now is a title. Again, it comes down to, this is just like the pie chart up there, parts of a whole. And so I still have to decide, because again, it's hard for people to take in all of this data, even if it is in an easier format for people to interpret. You still need to sort of pull out what is most relevant for people to take away. And ideally, your title is less than 6 words. Sometimes you need more than 6 words, and that's fine. But the point is that it should be explicit to the findings that you want people to take away from the graph. So commonly when people label graphs, they label them according to, this is a graph of this versus this, or these are the contents of the graph. And here, what I'm asking you to do is to make the title the main point of the graph. So we'll say 43% of participants are racialized of these 61% are not brilliant. It works. Again, it is very nice just to save people effort to color code things. So I'm going to code this with that very dark brown. Change the font first. Okay, I'm also going to make it bigger. Yeah, I like that. Okay. 61% are Black. I'm going to bold this. Bold this. This goes in our classic orange. Bold. Classic orange. All right. So I have now called out 2 things in these parts of a whole that I want people to particularly pay attention to. Now, say that's not what I actually want people to pay attention to. Maybe I want people to pay attention to what percentage of people in the group are Indigenous. Well, then I can either do something like this and highlight that in the title, but that again then becomes a case. My pie has been shifted as I sort of move the data around. But if all I want is to reflect that 10%, then I'm going to do that slice of the pie right up at the top, gray out everything else, and really highlight that. Or just do it as a percentage and leave all the graphing outside. Use the bright colors and say, 11% of program participants are Indigenous, and maybe that's all you need. So this is my longer than intended video that really breaks down a way of being able to reflect parts of a whole that is very friendly to the people who are looking at your data and allows them to be able to interpret it both quickly and accurately. I'm taking a look. The only other thing that I would do before I finalize this would be to put a data label on the x-axis here. Other than that, I am feeling good about this. So thank you very much and happy visualization.